Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I do not have any slides to present, so I don't need to put anything up on the screen. I don't know if we need to take anything down, but you can just listen to me. I'm the chief economist for SAG-AFTRA. And for those of you not familiar with our organization, it is a labor union based in the United States, and we represent workers in the media business, traditionally actors, performers, journalists who are in recorded media. We see ourselves as one of the first gig economies to successfully unionize. We started our organizing efforts in the 1930s when screen actors got together, worked together and negotiated terms for their employment with studios out in Hollywood. Thanks. With the growth of radio and then television and digital media, we've had more and more people that we're representing. We represent the biggest, most popular movie stars in the world, and we also represent the people that nobody notices that are on the corner of a screen whose voice might be heard as a backup singer on a sound recording, and anyone in between. And this workforce, as you can may imagine, has been dramatically impacted by the digital revolution. There's been a lot of upsides for people who work in the media business, particularly in North America, where a lot of the content here is exported around the world. There's been a lot of growth in job opportunities, and our members have benefited from that. So there's more opportunities to make money and to start a career. At the same time, there's a lot of challenges. The businesses that our members generally have worked in have been big audience businesses, where you would have a feature motion picture that would have be seen all around the globe and make hundreds of millions of dollars. And now you have media that is niche content that is being consumed by small audiences. So we have a lot of people who are doing small audience work and are trying to make big audience money. And that's creating a lot of challenges for our members. At the same time, the employers in our space, the people who tend to employ people who work in front of a camera or a microphone, are undergoing a lot of change as a result of the digital revolution. They're going through mergers. There are new startups such as Netflix and Amazon, who were not in this business before, who are now starting to dominate it. And the older, more established employers have to react to these new upstarts. And then our members tend to be caught in a lot of the turmoil that emerges from that change. So our members definitely have had, we've had winners and losers over the recent years. But we as an organization, as organized labor, see as the key to our future and for the future of people who work in a gig economy in a digitized space. We see, I'll talk about our vision of the future and what we see as next challenges. Essentially, we see our future lying with worker solidarity. This is something that we've learned over the years. When our top tier performers, the people who generate the greatest value to the employer, are willing to stand in solidarity with people who are doing a same kind of work as they are, but it is not generating anywhere near as much value, the overall value that workforce can generate from that employer goes up. And so we've seen that with motion pictures, we've seen that with radio, television, and digital content. I think one of the big challenges that we see is making sure there is regulatory environments that facilitate workers getting together in gig economy jobs. So when you look at the labor movement in the United States especially, the labor movement here is very founded on full-time employment, people who show up to work at the same place, working together and collectively bargaining. But that's not really the job model of the future. And when we have workers who are not only not working in the same place, but maybe working in different countries on the same project, it's hard to have an environment where they can collectively bargain with the employer who's employing them over the course of that project. So we want to see a regulatory environment that facilitates this kind of negotiation. We want to see greater solidarity amongst working people. So one of the things that we've been encountering, as I know other labor unions have been encountering, is the entrepreneurial mindset of a lot of people who are building their careers now. And from a labor economics perspective, a lot of us are used to thinking of labor and producers, and a lot of young people see themselves as both. So what we have, the people who are somewhat hybridized, are people who are trained as actors who are also producing their own content and distributing it on the internet. And they sometimes think of themselves as a working actor. They sometimes think of themselves as a producer. And it is hard to apply the old labor organizing model to someone who has an entrepreneurial mindset. So we're working to see a change, an evolution in the perception of people as having common interests with one another. Another thing that we're looking to establish is career models that people can look to in the digital economy. So what our workforce has had for decades is established career models. So actors would come out of an acting school and they would move to New York or Chicago or Los Angeles. They would work in theater for a few years. They'd decide whether they want to be a stage actor or if they wanted to go into movies or TV. And there were different models that they could follow. Now with digital media, a lot of that has been thrown out the window, and people are trying to figure out, how do I move to the next stage of my career, both financially and as a professional. And the last thing that I'll mention before I'm happy to take any questions is the employers who have worked with our union, SAG-AFTRA, over the years have demonstrated that it is possible to be very profitable while still dealing with a unionized workforce in a gig economy. So we're talking about Netflix, we're talking about Disney, we're talking about Time Warner, AT&T, a lot of very successful companies that are, there are some that are struggling, but there are some that are demonstrating you can make a tremendous amount of money while still covering some of the lowest skilled people on a set with a union agreement and making sure that they're paid fair terms for their work. So that's what I have to say. There's more details in chapter 7 in the book. You're welcome to read, and I'm happy to take any questions if there's any time.
If there's a specific question, we'll take it down. That mic on. It's now on.
Thanks. I was at a conference the Linux Foundation did last week, and they announced a collaboration between the Linux Foundation, which creates open source software, and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences to basically set up new technologies to manage the editing and management of not only digital streams, but also things like color quality, color capabilities, and I think a lot of things that work on gaming. Have you figured out as a union how you're going to react to things like that coming down the pike?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that we wrestle with every week because there's new evolving technology. So there's you know, one example is motion capture artists. So if you've ever seen a science fiction movie, a feature film, a lot of the performance is created by taking a professionally trained actor with hundreds of little dots all over their body, and which is mapped to a computer software which has worked with artists to get it to the final product on the screen. So what we are committed to doing is committing to covering the performer who's doing that work. And this is a kind of job that did not exist 15 years ago. So our two challenges, well, our three challenges are: one, making sure that our traditional employers recognize that this is unionized work that they need to pay under the terms of a union contract. Then the second big challenge is negotiating what is fair pay for this emerging work. And it's a real challenge because it's almost like the solutions that technology is generating they're coming out faster than the market can react. So it is a challenge to figure out what is the right compensation right now and make sure that that's not totally out of the ballpark a year from now. And then the third challenge is dealing with people who are displaced by that kind of work. So while there's new jobs that are created, there are other people who are not getting work, and they're not the same people. So it's not the highly skilled motion capture artist who's getting the, or who's losing work. It's the possibly older stunt performer, and figuring out how to help them along in their career in a freelance job. So it is definitely a big challenge for us, something we wrestle with on a regular basis.
Did you ever think of setting up something like a transition fund that would help people who are displaced get additional money if they have to leave a job that they've been within your union's purview, so that they can make a transition or maybe even take their training into another field?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's so we have a fund that is set up to help people transitioning, and it's not necessarily for retraining. It is to help certain people transitioning out of the business who are dealing with certain hardships. But we've looked at the idea of possibly retraining people who are the market is moving them out of the workforce. And the challenge is, in this work area, it has always been a highly transitional career model. So even 30 years ago, it was not uncommon for people to regularly transition out of this business just because they were no longer able to compete. So it is hard for our membership to identify who would be deserving of such a fund. Who is being forced out because of transitional forces from technology, and who just isn't able to compete because of their talents. And that's something that it's hard for us to wrestle with. Thanks.